This is Retirement Roadmap Radio with Mark Fricks from Master Plan Retirement Consultants. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Retirement Roadmap Radio with your host, Mark Fricks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Retirement Roadmap Radio with me, Mark Fricks, your host, as always. And with us today is our co-host, Mr. Tony Shore, and we are happy that you've joined us today, whether you are listening live, podcast, YouTube, wherever you may be in this great country of ours. We're glad you joined us, and we are here to talk about retirement. Not investing, not stocks, not stock picking, but retirement, which is what it's really all about. So we're going to get rolling here. We got a great show. And Tony, how are you, my friend?
I am great, but like we were talking about before the show, Mark, I'm bummed that fall did not last long here in the Midwest.
The best 30 minutes of your life, right?
Yeah, I'm up here in Minnesota, and it was so beautiful for 2 weeks here, and that's it. Fall is my favorite season, but in Minnesota it's also the shortest season, at least this year it was. So, there's that. But I am really, other than that, I'm good. I've just been, taking care of things at the house. I enjoyed the nice weather while we had it, and looking forward to the holiday season. That's always fun, but I've been keeping busy. How about you, Mark? Now, you've been really busy, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, as far as, we love to talk about the weather, right? I have this beautiful window looking over this beautiful scenery here. But, so here in the Atlanta area, we've had a really beautiful fall. In the last couple of days, we've had kind of I don't know if you call it Indian summer or fall, I don't know what you call it, but anyway, the last week has been almost hot.
Yeah, it's been unseasonably warm, hasn't it?
Unseasonably warm. I like that. Yeah. But I think it's going to start getting chilly tonight, I think, and below freezing. Okay, so
wow.
Bring in the cats, folks. So anyway. But yeah, I've been really busy. This is our busiest time of year, even though spring is really busy. But I think people get near the end of the year, they finish summer vacation, and they're like, hey, we need to start thinking about it. And the market's been rough, so roughness in the market drives people to us. Layoffs drive people to us. What do I do with my 401k, things of that nature. So just busy, and we've started some new marketing campaigns that always got a brand new workshop. I'll mention real quickly, a legacy planning workshop. We've not done that before. Wills and trust and estate taxes and things that can really mess you up. Things you need to prepare for. We don't like to think about end of life, but it's going to happen, right? I just don't know when.
And that's a big part of retirement planning, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
Estate and legacy planning, and I know you work alongside estate planning attorneys, and you yourself do a lot of legacy planning and look at the big picture, how that plays a part in the overall plan and financial plan for retirees, right?
Yeah, and what's great is this is a virtual workshop. So if you're interested, if you're listening, just go to our website, go into workshops and register. It is a complimentary class. We'll be teaching it 3 times this week. Which won't do much good since we're recording the show. But anyway,
sure.
We can certainly get you a recording, but visit the website for other workshops coming up as well, masterplanretire.com. But anyway, but I do want to talk today about 6 steps to determine your retirement date.
Wow.
I think that's really going to be helpful. So we're going to look at the 6 things you need to consider that will kind of say, okay, yeah, we can retire at this age or this year or whatever. So I think it's going to be a great show. And
a lot of it will be.
Yeah, because a lot of the confusion with planning is understanding and visualizing, really what it's going to look like. What's our desired date. And it's funny, Tony, so many times I'll ask people, and I've mentioned this on the show before, I'll say, when are you retiring? And they'll say 66 and 8 months. Well, that tells me right there the way they determine their retirement date is when they're eligible for full Social Security. That has nothing to do with your retirement date, folks.
Right.
Okay, once and for all, that has nothing to. That's just a calculation.
Social Security can play a role in the overall plan, but it should not determine your exact retirement date.
Not at all, because you may not want to take it that early. You may want to take it earlier. But
But before you go on, you said there are 6 things to determine when you retire. Is one of the 6 things tea leaves? Do you use
that? If we have time,
reading tea leaves,
that'd be number 7 if we have time. Yeah.
Astrological science.
That's right. I do have a magic 8 ball in my office.
The magic 8 ball. Those things are not what we're talking about. If your advisor recommends any of those things, do not walk.
Yes.
Or as I like to say, you might want to shy away from it. Right? Shy away from that. But not to interrupt there, but Social Security is not one of the determining factors.
No.
The main determining factors. You're saying
That's
surprising to a lot of people, I bet.
Yeah, because keep in mind that full retirement date is simply a calculation from Social Security. And so all the numbers come together and say, okay, this is your main calculation. If you retire earlier, you get less. You retire later, you get more. But we got to pick a date, and right now the date is depending on your date of birth. My date is age 67, is full retirement age. I'm not taking till age 70 because I want another 24% in my check every month. Sure. But that's me. But we have calculations we can run for you. Anybody that wants to take advantage of the complimentary consultation, we'll run a Social Security Maximizer Analyzer, and it goes through over 20,000 calculations to find the best time for you individually to take Social Security. So that's one of the reports we can run for you. But getting into our topic, the first one I do want to mention, Tony, is setting a reasonable income goal. And what I mean by that? What I mean is how much money do you need coming in per month in retirement? Now, if you're 20, that's going to be tough, okay? But if you're in your 40s or 50s and 60s, you should be able to take what you're spending now, not what you're making, but what you're spending now, and then kind of look into the future and say, okay, what's going to go away and what's going to be added to it, and come up with something. And typically, this is the industry standard, which I hate industry standards, okay? But the industry standard is 75% of what you're living on now. Is a good starting point for income in retirement. Okay, so and by the way, if you'll ask me, if you'll email me after the show or anytime in the next couple of weeks, if you'll ask me, I will send you a budget worksheet that is designed for people in retirement, and it's self-calculating, and so you can kind of play with the numbers and say, okay, well, I won't be driving as much, but I won't be buying as many clothes, but I may be playing more golf, and that type of thing. So that's goal number 1, though, is setting a reasonable income goal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Understanding where you're at. Having goals is a big part of it, but knowing what you need in retirement is a big step toward knowing when you can retire, obviously.
Yep. And one of the things we do, once you come over that goal, I can run a report for you that will insert cost of living, because if your goal today at age 55 is a certain number, well, when you turn 62, that number is going to be different. So we'll add inflation to it, and then we'll see, based on your income and your assets, how long that will last you in retirement and how much more you need to save, which is kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So
that's the point of the whole thing.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
So what's next? That was 1.
Yes.
What's number 2 on the list?
Well, step 2 is, now that you have a reasonable income goal, is where is your income going to come from? Okay, so we start with Social Security, right?
Resources, yep.
Yeah. So, if you're married, so you have 2 Social Securities coming in, right? And by the way, a lot of people don't realize this, but even if one of the spouses never worked, they get at least half of the other spouse's Social Security. I have people come to class and they'll say, yeah, but I don't qualify for Social Security, or I only qualify for $500 a month or whatever. And I say, well, what about your spouse? Oh, they're getting $3,000 a month. Then you're going to get $1,500 a month. Okay,
yeah.
So,
and that doesn't come out of their $3,000 either. They still get the They still get the $2,800 or $3,000, whatever their amount is, and you get half of it. The spouse that didn't work can file for spousal benefits.
Yeah, and many times, I'm not being chauvinistic, many times it's the female, because maybe they stayed home with kids for 10 years and didn't work nearly as much. And
nowadays it could be the other way around.
It
too.
Absolutely is nowadays, much more so. But we work with a lot of 50, 60-year-olds, and that happens more often than not. But still, doesn't matter. I've got several female clients that made twice as much money as their husbands did, and certainly have a larger Social Security as well. So,
sure.
But that is number two. And also, where else could income come from? Well, I'm talking about real guaranteed income, by the way, Tony. I'm not talking about, I'm going to take money in my 401k. Well, if you're taking money out of a 401k to live on in retirement today, and your 401k is down 25%, that is not a smart income source. So where else? Because
typically your 401k or your traditional IRA, those retirement accounts are all in the market.
That's
They're
right.
all attached to stocks and can go up and down. And in 2022, like you say, anywhere between 18 and 30% down,
right,
depending on your portfolio for
exactly.
A lot of folks.
Exactly.
So you don't want to pull money out of there when you're 20-25% down.
Nope. And also, I have occasionally somebody will come in and say, well, I have a dividend portfolio that I take income from. So if you don't know what dividends are, those are profits of a company. If you own their stock, they will distribute some of their profits based on how many stocks you own. That's not guaranteed. I mean, in bad economic times, dividends either stop or slow down. So if maybe your portfolio is producing 4% in dividends in good times, it may produce 1.5% in bad times. Well, you still got to pay the light bill. You still got to, put gas in your car. And so I don't consider that a true income source. And bonds, of course, pay very little. They're paying a little bit more because the Fed's raising rates, but hopefully that won't last forever. So bonds are not, a guaranteed income source. It's a steady income source. So really the only other two things I can think of is number one, if you have a pension.
Right.
Not too many left. Okay. So either you're a government worker or one of the few companies left that have a pension, which is a guaranteed income, or if you've purchased a very specialized annuity that will give you guaranteed income. And
like
so
a fixed income annuity or
something that you don't have to worry about the market affecting. So a fixed index annuity where you're going to earn 0 to 8% on average, but once you turn on the income, it's guaranteed for life. And can be guaranteed for life for your spouse as well. So, that's really the only other place. And I'm not saying that, if you don't have one, you should get one or vice versa. But where is your income going to come from?
Right.
And what level
depends
is that
on your
going to be?
situation. And that's
Absolutely.
why that right there is why you need to work with an independent, trusted financial professional who can look at all the options available, like you, Mark, look at all the options and say, okay, here's where we can put your money where your principal's protected and yet you still get some gains and things like that. And you should put a portion of it here, keep a portion of it at higher risk for more growth potential, et cetera. And it all is based on your time horizon and your personal situation, which is different for everybody.
Yep. Hey, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Right.
Yeah. Good job. Tony, you and I have been doing this show, I don't know, for 5-6 years, whatever it is. So, I think you read my mind, and I try to read your mind.
Well, I'm just repeating things I've heard you say. Like, am I right here? This is what you'd say, Mark? That's all I have to do, right?
I'll start asking you the question, let you give me the answer.
No, you're the expert. That's for sure. So what's the next one on the list?
Yeah, so we got goals. Now we know what's coming in. So most often now we have a gap. We want $5,000 a month coming in. We got $4,000 a month coming in from sources that are real. So once we look at that gap, then we can determine, again, we can run this report that tells us how much do we need to have saved to fill that gap.
Yep.
And that can help determine the age of retirement. If we can say, okay, I can save this much money for 8 years, I can retire in 8 years, and then that money will last a lifetime. And so how much money is that? Is that, saving $100 a month, $1,000 a month? And then we determine how to make that most efficient. What I mean by that, maybe if we have a 401k at work and they're matching, take advantage of the match. That's free money. If you have somebody that's capable of managing your 401k, we actually can manage 401ks for our clients. Also thrift savings plans, federal benefits. We can manage those accounts so that it's not just floating in the wind for the next 10 years. We are maximizing the returns. So if you're maximizing your savings, you're getting a match. We're able to get a better return with a little bit less risk. then that's a good combination. And so we want to see what money we need to be saving and what is a realistic return if it's being properly managed. And that will tell us, hey, honey, we got to save an extra $500 a month, or I'm going to have to work till I'm 78 or whatever.
Right.
Be kind of nice to know, right?
Yeah, it would be nice to know, obviously.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, you need to know where that money is coming from and, determine what your monthly needs are. And then, hey, how am I going to fill that gap? Because a lot of people have that income gap, right?
Yep. Almost everybody does. Almost everybody. So step 4 is, and this is a discussion we have with every one of our clients, and it's life expectancy. Okay. And so how long do we think we're going to live? Therefore, how long does our money need to last? And so that comes down to some really good discussions. Tell me about your health, how you take care of yourself. Are you diabetic, or you have heart problems, or are you healthy as a horse, or whatever? But also, and the spouse as well, and then also family history. Hey, my
longevity.
Siblings, exactly. Do you have good genes? Like my mom, my grandmother on my dad's side died at 99. My dad is 90 and going strong. So on that side of the family, I've got good genes. My mom's side of the family, not quite as much, but my mom's 88, and 87. And so, you start looking at family history, siblings, uncles and aunts, and that type of thing. We don't know, Tony, but I'll also tell you this. If you kind of say, well, by the time we discuss this, I'm thinking 85, I would add 5 or 10 years to that, because that's 20 years in the future or 30 years in the future. Think of that technology and the medical advances that we have. And so let's don't underestimate. So if you think 85, let's use 95 or whatever it may be. Yeah. Because you don't want to run out of money at 85 and live 10 more years. It's not a good thing.
No, my grandfather lived 101 years, and he was active up until about 4 weeks before he died. He was active at 101. So,
Yep. I think you said he drove until the last year or something.
Yep. He drove until he was almost 100, and then the last year, Ada drove for him, his third wife. He outlived the first 2 wives. Normally, women outlive men, but he outlived them. And then he was camping 2 months he bought a new camper in January, a month before his 101st birthday, and he was camping 2 months before he passed.
Wow.
So imagine if he didn't have income planned if he planned on 85 or 80, which was probably the average back then for him.
Maybe even
it
less.
was 75 or 80.
Yep.
He lived 21 more years than most people would have probably suspected.
Oops. Oops.
Now, he was fortunate, like people who have pensions, he was fortunate that he owned a bunch of farmland and was able to lease that land, and so he got mailbox money each month
Nice.
the farmer who farmed it for him, leased the land from him. So, and he let Verizon put a cell tower on his farm. And he got $600 and some each month for that.
Wow.
Just for the little amount of land it took up on the corner of one of his fields was nothing, And
then maybe on the other corner he could have put a billboard, right? At least that.
Well, you don't want to take farmland's valuable, so you don't want to give it. Most farmers wouldn't want to give it up, but he happened to have a little land next to a drive, next to a little creek going into the field where there was land that wasn't really farmable and hadn't been farmed, so it worked out, and that's mailbox money, and I think that's the smartest thing he ever did.
Yeah, I've got a friend's father who has a Colonial Pipeline, which is an oil pipeline that runs all over the country, and they cut through his property, and he got a check every month. So,
handy.
Pretty cool.
The mailbox money is always good to have, isn't it? Don't you love it when a client comes in the door, Mark, and they have mailbox money? It just helps. It's a great, it's going to be there each month, and you can work that into your retirement calculations.
Absolutely.
So what's next on your list?
Yeah, so 2 more. Number 5 is don't forget about health insurance coverage. So if you're shooting to retire at age 62, guess what? What are you going to do for health insurance? Because Medicare doesn't start till 65, and we know
your
health
employer
insurance
plan will stop usually when you leave. And I'll tell you what, that COBRA is outrageously expensive. Like to insure yourself with health insurance between 62 and 65, unless you're independently wealthy, I don't know if that's going to work.
Well, I've had a couple of clients because their income drops in retirement a little bit, or applying for the Affordable Care Act money, and so they get a little bit, but it's not the best insurance in the world, the higher deductibles, and and again, if you've got a decent retirement income, you may not qualify for any kind of a discount. So, I got people paying $700, $800, $1,200 a month for health insurance for a couple. So that if you do retire earlier than 65, then we have to put that into the budget for the first couple of years.
Yikes.
One positive about federal workers, as you know, we have probably about a third of our clientele are federal workers. They are able to carry their health insurance into retirement.
Yeah, that's huge.
So it is huge because a lot of them can retire at 57, 58, 59, 60.
Sure.
And so that's important to consider that as well. So,
yeah.
Number 6 is kind of a simple thing. It's never too late to start, okay? I don't care if you're 48, 58, 68. I've got somebody that came to me recently, very little assets. I think early 60s, and he knows he's going to have to work until his early 70s. But we've put together a plan to start almost at nothing and have enough to retire on at age 72, I believe it is.
Wow.
And 72 is not that old. The closer I get to it, the younger it is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. The older I get, the younger it is. That's true.
Yeah. So don't be afraid. Go ahead and have a plan. Go ahead and put something together, and let's get some target goals. And then we have people that work part-time in retirement. Number one, they're bored. Number two, hey, it brings in an extra money. And so that's always an option as well.
And it gives you a purpose. That's the thing. That's the other thing about retiring early or determining when you want to retire. If you love your job and it's your social connection and your purpose, you might want to not retire early. Your retirement date, you might want to set it out a ways, right?
Right. If you love what you do, or maybe on your own terms, maybe you do part-time, maybe you do consulting,
right,
or whatever. Like I will never retire. Okay, I will stay here as long as I can for a couple of reasons. Number one, I love what I do. Number two, it's not stressful. It's I've learned, I know so much. It'd be hard to walk away. It'd be like a doctor that went to school for 12 years.
I've known there are a handful of really good financial advisors that I've worked with in the past, Mark, and it's funny because it's like the old phrase, the cobbler's kids have no shoes. The shoemaker's kids have no shoes. And the funny thing is, I work with you, and you say I worked with a guy 72. Retirement, talking about doing a radio show about how to retire early. And I laugh and I go, isn't it a little hypocritical? But you love what you do, and you help people retire every day. And it's funny because you're not the first independent financial advisor I've heard say, "Oh, I'm not going to retire. I don't want to retire."
Well, I'm doing what I love, and now I will do it on my own.
Same here. As long as my voice holds out, I'm going to co-host a show with you. I can promise you that. Even if I win the lottery. People said, what if you won the $2 billion lottery? Obviously, you'd quit your job. And I go, absolutely not. I'd be a mess.
Well,
I'd be wasting money. Who knows what I would do or turn into. No. I need to stay grounded. Yeah. I need to come into work each day. I love that. I need that. And as long as I'm physically able, I'm going to do that. Yeah.
Well, and with me, I mean, it's kind of like attorneys. A lot of time attorneys will just, they'll slow down, but they keep going. I know attorneys in their 80s still practicing law.
Yes, I do as well.
So it'll be on my own terms. Maybe I'll work a week and I'll quit taking on new clients. Perhaps I have other advisors here that would take on clients and maybe help guide the business. We're a family generational business, so the legacy
keep doing the radio show.
Exactly.
Passing along the wisdom.
Keep speaking. Maybe work with our top tier clients or whatever. But whatever it looks like. But take more time off, but still work. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, we need to wrap up the show. We're out of time, but a great show. We covered all 6. How can our listeners get a hold of you to set up that no-charge, no-obligation consultation?
Yeah, and to get these reports run, let's see where you're at, where you want to be, where you want to go. Masterplanretire.com is the website. You can go there, push a little green button that says schedule an appointment, and there's my calendar. Pick a time, pick a date. and you'll get an email almost immediately confirming it. So that's the easiest way, masterplanretire.com. If you like the phone, call us 770-980-9262, extension 2, and you will reach my administrative assistant receptionist. She keeps my calendar, and she can help you get on the calendar as well. But really, Master Plan Retire, in addition to scheduling appointments where everything else is, workshops, information about us, information about retirement, great place to visit. Also links to our podcast, links to our YouTube channel, all of that. So masterplanretire.com.
Masterplanretire.com. Thanks for that, Mark. And listeners, that does it for today's episode of Retirement Roadmap Radio with our host, Mark Fricks.
So glad you joined us. Look forward to seeing you again next week, same time, same place. And until we see each other again, remember, plan well and prosper. Take care, everybody.